So now we're going to look at the functions of the lymphatic system, what it is and what is a specific pathway, right? So the three main functions of the lymphatic system, number one, is the regulation of fluid balances. What does that mean? Fluid balances, right? So instances during gas exchange where we have the capillaries that are highly porous, there's instances where a lot of fluid seeps out and into the interstitial space. The lymphatic system plays a big role in regulating these fluids back into the bloodstream. It is an open system, right? So it can receive, all this fluid constantly, right? And the second main function of it is where you have the maturation and the development of white blood cells. So a lot of white blood cells, specifically what kind of white blood cells? Lymphocytes, right? So if you ever hear the word lymphocyte, it's because these are white blood cells that reside in the lymphatic system. Well, it reserves for the lymphocytes that are being preserved there in preparation for any kind of desterilization. Third function that we can talk about is sort of overlapping with the second main function, is actually desterilization of the fluid, right? So you grab the fluid out of the capillaries, you need to sterilize it, right? So another function is removal of pathogens. So they destroy any kind of pathogens that are probably in the body. So removal of pathogens. And then the final main function is the maintenance and the transport of lipids. So specifically the triglycerides and the fatty acids are regulated through the lymphatic system, the actual migration, right? So if we look at a capillary bed, for example, in the tissue. So here we have the capillary bed in the tissue. Let's make it a little bit professional looking, right? So we're in the tissue now, here. And in the tissue here, right, so it's the oxygenated blood is going and it's becoming deoxygenated, right? So you have capillaries here coming in, branching off from the arterioles, becoming capillaries. Now you have the venules coming in, right? And so now, if you ever notice on any kind of images that you're using, you notice that there's all these little capillaries that are present within these vascular capillaries. These are called lymphatic capillaries. So any fluid that is seeping out from these capillary vessels, these blood vessels, it is picked up by the lymphatic capillaries. So any region where there's a high prevalence of vascular capillaries, so any blood vessels, right? So there's a high prevalence of the lymphatic capillaries. So the lymphatic capillaries now grab this fluid and they take it through a lymphatic vessel as a form of lymph. So we have these vessels, right? And they store them in these lymphoidal tissues called lymph nodes. So lymph nodes. Lymph nodes begin the sterilization process, right? So we grab the fluid, we try to grab any kind of pathogens that are creating out here. And so again, it releases all of this now sterilized lymph fluid through another lymphatic vessel. Okay. And then the lymphatic vessel becomes the lymphatic trunk. And the trunk begins to distribute, right? Because you want to bring all this lymph eventually back into the bloodstream, right? It becomes the collecting duct. The collecting duct has two specific regions. The duct now branches and becomes into an actual vessel. So all of this lymphatic tissue gets transported back via the subclavian vein, right? So what is the subclavian vein? Where is it? Well, you have the sub below the clavicle. So subclavian vein now brings it back into the bloodstream, and now it can re-enter the bloodstream.